Severance is one of the hottest shows on TV right now, and it's not hard to see why. It has a unique premise, compelling characters, and some of the most minute attention to detail ever seen in a show. While there's no confirmed price for Season 1, it was reported that Season 2 cost $200 million to make. That's $20 million an episode, making it one of the most expensive series ever produced. To understand how ridiculous this is, last year's Best Picture winner, Anora, cost only $6 million. You could make 3 similar feature films with the same budget as a single episode of Severance. This might seem a little unusual at first. After all, most of the show consists of characters talking to each other in an office. Yes, there are some cool visual sequences every now and then, but $20 million per episode seems like a stretch, right? Season 1 of House of the Dragon also cost that much, but had fire-breathing monsters and an elaborate fantasy world. Well, I'm here to convince you that Severance isn't a money laundering scheme. When you really take a look at how much work has gone into this show, you start to realize that the level of detail is unlike anything ever seen before. Let's go through each element piece by piece to justify why Severance's cinematography is worth the price. Hopefully this will give you a better appreciation for the amount of hard work that Dan Erickson, Ben Stiller, and the rest of the crew have put into the project. First, there's a couple of caveats that come with Severance's massive budget. The first season was greenlit by Apple at the end of 2019, with filming to commence within a few months. Due to the pandemic, however, this was delayed until the end of 2020. Season 2 also had similar bad luck, with both the writers and actors' strikes respectively halting production. Such delays drive up costs more than you would expect. Staff need to be paid, sets need to be maintained, and rescheduling days of shooting at required locations is very expensive. For such a meticulous show like Severance, this could have easily led to a noticeable shift in quality to keep under budget. Fortunately for Dan Erickson, creator of the show, Apple is one of the richest companies in the world who can easily afford to splurge as much money as they want. Honestly, props to the team for convincing some higher-ups to invest so much cash into the second season. As a side note, Severance is far from the only show to receive such blessed treatment. Other tech conglomerates are throwing tons of money at flagship series in an attempt to build up their streaming service libraries. We've seen this with Amazon, HBO, and Disney pouring hundreds of millions into shows like Rings of Power, The Last of Us, and the MCU spin-offs. Let me know in the comments if you want to see a video about streaming services, as such practices are doing massive harm to not only TV, but the film industry too. Looking at you, the electric state. Anyways, the delays can explain some of Severance's $200 million price tag, but not all of it. Plenty of other shows have high budgets, but these are usually filled to the brim with special effects. Season 1 of Loki was $25 million per episode, but this makes sense when you consider how much green screen and CGI was used to create the different worlds and creatures that are featured. Why then was Severance so expensive to make? There's a few reasons, however, one has to do with its heavy use of CGI. Wait a minute, what's CGI? Sorry nerds, I misled you quite a bit. Turns out Severance has a lot more scenes that were digitally enhanced than you would expect. The footage you're watching right now was put together by lead compositor David Piombino. All of these shots are only from Season 1 of the show, however, more extensive work was also done for Season 2. Hopefully these clips are as much of a shock to you as they were to me. It dispels a common myth out there that CGI can never look better than shots done practically. One form of imagery isn't necessarily superior to the other, and both have their pros and cons. What I hope you take away is this: good CGI is almost indistinguishable from the real thing. Rather than creating elaborate fantasy worlds and impressive renders of fictional creatures, the digital effects in Severance are only used to enhance what's already there. It might seem odd to do so much compositing work at first, however, this makes sense when you consider the logistics. Building long stretching hallways is costly, but having just a few with a green screen to fill in the rest saves time and money. Ben Stiller seemed to think that there wasn't enough snow in this scene, so let's add some more in. Getting enough fake snow and perfect weather conditions is downright impossible, hence why there's so much added in post. Okay, the visuals are impressive, but was all that compositing work really necessary? In Season 1 especially, a majority of the scenes take place inside the halls of Lumen, so why would the showrunners allocate so much of their budget into 10-second shots like this? Because Severance wouldn't have a distinct visual style without them. Unique aesthetics are extremely important if you want to make your show both memorable and stand out from the crowd. There's plenty of reasons why most Netflix productions are forgettable, but one has to do with the fact that they all look the same. No amount of good writing can make a show memorable if it uses stock standard lighting, camera work, costuming, and set design. By pouring so much time and money into each frame and building the world from the ground up, Severance manages to stand apart from other shows on the market. Your Audi is kind. Your Audi is smart. Your Audi wants to subscribe to my channel. Go on. Hit that bell to be notified when I release more videos like this one. Your Audi is... When comparing seasons 1 and 2, it's not surprising that the latter costs so much to make. In fact, right from the opening scene, it's obvious that the show got a massive increase to its budget. Severance has several of these elaborate sequences, and the showrunners have talked about these extensively online. I'm going to briefly discuss some of them in this section, so you understand how much work goes into scenes that appear to be simple at first. For the opening shot, the team used a giant robot camera arm to do these movements. It's possible to program exactly where you want it to go, hence the precision. This technique is also how you get the slow panning shots seen in other scenes. A lot of CGI work was needed, as otherwise the base of the camera would be present in the final shot. What you might have seen online, however, was the fact that this one sequence took 5 months to film. While technically true, this was mostly due to having to reorganize the hallways that Adam Scott runs down and switch cameras. As one example, this section was filmed by a cameraman running with a gimbal, whereas the bolt arm was required again for this one. The final result might seem like one continuous take, but the team actually filmed it in several different sections and stitched them together through clever editing and VFX work. Yes, it's a lot of effort for one scene, but we get an opening that instantly hooks you and seamlessly picks up from where season 1 left off. You might have also read an article or two about the fact that no CGI was used in this shot either. The team built real cables and filmed inside of them, using a pulley to move the camera inside the desk and wires. In fact, this entire episode is full of gorgeous cinematography and editing choices, such as this stop-motion-esque sequence of Mark's memories shot on 16mm film. Shoutouts to lead cinematographer Jessica Lee Gagne for directing this episode, as it's one of the best in the whole show. The season 2 finale also has an elaborate scene featuring a marching band and Trammell Tillman's fancy dance moves. By now, I'm sure you get the point. The reason I bring all of these up is due to how time-consuming they all are. These are scenes that take weeks, sometimes even months to film. This is absolutely unheard of for a TV production schedule, where time is such a valuable commodity. Severance isn't like other shows, however, and its sky-high budget allows for such lengthy filming schedules and meticulous planning. At the end of the day, however, is it worth it? I think so. The 3 examples I've given have all been for key moments of the show. The hallway running is an exciting hook to get audiences back into season 2. The entire Shikai Bardo episode is full of shocking reveals about what Lumen is up to. The marching band sequence makes for an exciting finale, while also highlighting the importance of Mark's work to the company. Characters talking in a room isn't enough for these moments. You need some added flair to make them memorable, which takes time and resources to achieve. So Severance spent a ton of money on elaborate set pieces and extensive CGI work. The thing is, this alone doesn't guarantee a good final product. Rings of Power had an even bigger budget, yet no one still talks about the visuals despite how impressive they may be. Obviously the writing of that show was criticized, but I don't think this is the main reason why its cinematography was overlooked. It turns out that planning your shots beforehand goes a long way. This is a point that movie directors understand, however, it doesn't really translate well to TV. While a $200 million film that only lasts for 2 hours has the resources to perfectly craft every shot, shows do not have this same luxury. Many might be lucky to get that budget for a whole season, meaning there's way less time spent making storyboards and reshooting failed takes. This is why so much TV consists of scenes where 2 characters talk in a room with extremely simple composition. First, a wide establishing shot, then hone in on the actors as they begin to have their conversation, trading screen time back and forth. It's cheap to do, saves valuable production time, and simple enough for the audience to follow along. Severance does not stick to convention, however. Instead of taking shortcuts, every shot is chosen with clear purpose and intent. Take a look at these storyboards drawn by Danny Avils. So much planning goes into scenes that appear to be simple at first, such as Milchick riding a motorcycle. This is even clearer when you put the two side by side. even when slight changes are made on a day, such as filming this shot from a different angle. The main logic and concept behind it stays the same. Lumen's logo is still present in the roundabout, demonstrating just how much influence they have on the livelihoods of Kia's residents. Jessica Lee Gagne is the woman responsible for most of the gorgeous cinematography this show has to offer. In fact, she directed one of the best episodes in season 2, which I mentioned earlier. Obviously, the elaborate sequences are impressive, which I talked about in the last part. However, even regular conversations are still framed in a unique way. Take a look at this shot, where Helly and Mark are conflicting over the former's Audi infiltrating the 7th floor. Whereas other shows might do a simple shot reverse shot, the scene is instead positioned here for almost 30 seconds. Not only does it look fantastic, but the blocking reinforces exactly how Mark feels during this conversation. He is quite literally caught between Helly and her reflection, which metaphorically represents her Audi. Lee Gagne is constantly finding interesting camera angles and using creative blocking to demonstrate the shifting character dynamics. You can find examples like this all over the show, however it's also made possible thanks to some clever set design. The exact positioning of the 4 desks, and their flexibility in moving the dividers allows for some cool framing. The low ceiling height and huge empty space does wonders in making the innies feel trapped and claustrophobic. As a side note, many of the props are quite expensive due to how much they were customized. The computers aren't simple PCs you can just buy from any shop, but older models with Lumen branding added. This also goes for the pens, cups, vending machines, and more. The keyboards lack an escape key. That's how detailed and thought out this show is. Such care and attention to detail is poured into every frame. This is the real secret sauce as to why Severance feels so polished and unique. Rather than cutting corners in one department to make up for another, there's cohesive harmony between teams. The CGI, set design, blocking, lighting, and actors' performances all work in tandem to produce a show where every episode feels like a feature film. Considering the hefty price tag of season 2, I'm glad the show looks as expensive as it costs. Hopefully this breakdown has given you a greater appreciation for the work that has gone into Severance. I'm looking forward to season 3 when it eventually comes out in a few years. Please make sure to leave me a like since you made it this far, and subscribe for more videos like this one.